Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it's League on Lock remotely, and we have the one and only Mark Horner signing in with us from his own comfortable abode. We're still figuring out the kinks of this setup, but this is attempt number one, we'll call it.
This is the COVID-19 Chronicles of League of Legends getting going here from the home studios. And let me say home studios, this is my parents' home abode, and this is my mom's room. So you're coming straight here from League on Lock.
This is the behind the scenes that you've been asking for.
Hey, we're bringing you in to our family here, guys. We're bringing you into our homes, and we are talking with you here and trying to entertain you throughout this shutdown, lockdown situation here. And luckily for us, though, we've been getting some esports going on here, some League of Legends action throughout this shutdown. And it has definitely been exactly the type of distraction that I think myself and everyone has really needed at this point in time.
And let me tell you, you don't want to see what's off camera over here, because there's a whole lot of stuff that's just been pushed to the side. Couldn't move the keyboard. That's staying there. But,
got to keep it clean.
Got to keep it clean, or at least attempt to. But yeah, all the other sports around the world.
The appearance of looking clean.
The appearance. That's what we're all about here, is appearances. But all the other sports around the world canceled for maybe the rest of the season. But esports rolls on. We don't get the cool handshakes and the yelling in studio, but at least the games are actually there. And if anything, this weekend in the LCS was the biggest time so far that I've been like, man, I wish the guys were in the studio for these games, because seeing Team Liquid soul-crushing defeat at the hands of Cloud9, it would have been great to see in person. And that's, of course, where we got to start, because it almost became a miracle where Team Liquid, oh my God, they look good. They're going toe-to-toe with Cloud9, back-to-back fights. They need this win to stay in the playoff hunt and have an insane four-way tiebreaker for that final spot. And then Cloud9 was like, nah, bro. Remember those finals? Remember those finals where you denied us? Not happening.
Let me just get this nice and picture-perfect back door to close this one out here. End things off for you. Picture perfect. Love it. And you know what? I love that ending, but I don't love not having Team Liquid in the playoffs. This is obviously a squad where the talent of these players, you need to have them there, right? You look at this as North America as a region as a whole, and you see Team Liquid's roster and them not reach this point. It kind of feels, empty heading into playoffs without this type of champion, without those type of players there to compete against here at the very top. And look, it is completely on them and completely on this organization, the failures that they've been going through and the disappointment here to the fan base as well. That is absolutely on them. But don't believe here for a second that this squad isn't capable or isn't talented enough here to obviously turn things around when summer comes around. But there is still a lot of work to be done to get to that point.
And it's hard to find the motivation when you've won 4 splits in a row. You know what's really good motivation? Not making playoffs in North America in what was one of the weakest splits that we've ever seen. That's a lot of motivation.
Right, and then if you're talking about a player who does tend to do even better when there is that little bit of extra fire, that little bit of, reason behind that motivation, is someone like Doublelift, who is the big star here for Team Liquid, and you need him to be pumping out those star performances, because you know what? We didn't really get almost any of them here in the spring split. You had the start of the spring split here, not looking so good on Senna, things like that, and then as well, not getting enough of the super pop-off performances when when Team Liquid needed them the most here. And so for Doublelift being motivated to prove a lot of the doubters and haters wrong here, getting back into that championship mode here, that can be a very valuable thing here for Team Liquid.
And it's been a long time since he's really been heavily criticized. Even when they were not getting out of groups at MSI, not getting out of groups at Worlds, it was like, well, Doublelift, he played pretty well. He showed up against international competition. But now, because he was benched, because of all the Senna stuff, he gets the brunt end of all the criticism because he's the biggest star on that roster. And excited to see them as a whole and Doublelift bounce back in summer, because they will. There's no way they miss playoffs 2 splits in a row.
The whole squad is so talented here, and given, again, extra time working together here, that is going to be my biggest thing here. I don't want any little gaps here and
no
breaking
visa
time
issues
off.
I don't want it.
Yeah. hey, you already did that in the off season here. You split up your time as far as training and no boot camps, things like that. And we saw the results here. And of course, yes, the issue with Brox's visa did impact that as well here to certain degrees, but you got to be better than this. And this is a situation here where you look at that and you saw how things went in the off season. I think you got to pivot here and go full force.
Is there any chance they make some roster moves heading into summer? It'd be insane. But do they say, Smithy, come back, Broxton didn't work?
I don't think Smithy would come back for that one in that type of situation here. I don't know where you look as far as what upgrades would you really feasibly be able to grab here in this type of market at this time, right? You're looking all throughout these positions. And I think if you're talking about disappointing performances, maybe you're looking at top and support, but are you really going to be able to find somebody that's not taking up that import slot here in the top lane that would be better performances than Impact? I think Impact still has a lot to offer and still can clean up his play and provide strong performances here for the Team Liquid squad, holding steady in that top side. And even Core JJ, certainly not the performance that we saw from him all of last year, but this is a far cry from people who were saying that he's one of the bottom 5 supports in NA. And I'm like, you're crazy if you're saying he's bottom 5. There's no way.
One off split even, or one half a split that's off, does not even close to take away the last 2 splits that he had with Team Liquid playing on an MVP level. And Impact, we didn't get to see the playoff buff. He always kind of slumps through the regular season, turns it up in playoffs, but this year we didn't get to see it. The craziest thing here, the craziest number, who would have thought in the preseason that Cloud9 would finish with more regular season wins than TSM and Team Liquid combined? Combined, they have more wins.
That's insane.
Ridiculous. It was pretty much consensus across the board that you would have Team Liquid 1, TSM at worst 3, but most people had them number 2 in the preseason, and Cloud9 says, nah, man, more wins than both of those scrub orgs combined. Wild.
Pretty impressive also that Cloud9 manages to put together 4 out of 5 pieces of the Exodia Player of the Week award here. They almost got all 5 starting players here a Player of the Week award. Just, I believe, Licorice missing out here.
Which is not the one you would have thought wouldn't get one of those.
No, because Licorice has certainly been incredibly steady and provided a lot of good performances during this hot run here for Cloud9. But, of course, Vulcan picks it up here in the final week, that Player of the Game. And, man, 4 out of 5 of your players getting Player of the Week awards here certainly does showcase exactly the strength that Cloud9 has been showing us all split.
And for a squad that was second behind Cloud9 for a lot of the split, you were talking about the only team that beat them in the regular season, TSM, in classic Team Solo mid fashion. The final week of the regular season, they trip, stumble, and roll down a hill into the playoffs. 0-2. They had a good chance. They were in the driver's seat to finish second, and now we'll blow a 10K gold lead, get a pentakill, still lose the game so that we can finish in 5th.
And look, I want to be careful because I know a lot of TSM fans are expecting a little bit of fire here for them again. Every time there is a very disappointing week for TSM, you always bring out all the criticism and everything like that. But I want to be a little bit careful because still I am seeing some of the leftover benefits and positive signs that we had been seeing from the previous 2-0 week, and then of course you had the 1-1 last week and now 0-2. But the situation, I still think there's enough positives going on with TSM to feel that yes, they're working through some things, but certainly not the way that you wanted to go towards playoffs here. And the thing that makes me have some pause for some concern here is certainly the drafts that they've been getting themselves into this past week. I really thought that they were missing out on some things here, giving up some things. I mean, come on guys, you gotta be taking Ornn with that first pick. Why are you taking the Aatrox? Come on.
It was the meme before that they couldn't play against Aatrox, so maybe they...
Yeah, so hey, you got to jump ahead of it and play the Aatrox.
Yeah, that's the 200 IQ. But are they really the 5th best team heading into playoffs? Even though they had a bad week, you got to still feel more confident in them than that.
You got to be thinking about the ways that they're going to turn up their performance here, the way that the veterans here on this lineup, Bjergsen is going to be ready for these playoffs here. And hey, we've talked about Bjergsen and his performances and wanting to see more. Got the pentakill, of course. I mean, that one's a little bit easy when people are just standing on your Sand Soldiers as Azir.
Yeah,
that's
I'm giving more credit to the 4-man Cataclysm from Dardoch and the setup from
exactly.
Blade.
There's a lot of other things going on here to set up that play for the Burger King, but he is certainly going to be a massive point for TSM in the playoffs, relying on that veteran status here. It is going to be big. And we saw a down week this week from Dardoch. And a lot of the times with Dardoch in the jungle position, I think that does tend to lead into other issues with the team. It's not just the jungler that is responsible for the mistakes that are happening from that role or around that role type of thing, I think is my opinion on how the game is going.
Sure.
But it is certainly not the best week that we have seen from him with TSM, and he is going to be relied upon to get things going here as they get towards the playoffs to make sure that Bjergsen and Broken Blade are the big strong points that they've been relying upon to get things done this split.
I'm excited to see this roster, this version of them in the playoffs, and for all the fallouts and disappointing splits that TSM has had in the last 2.5 years now. Team Liquid, come on. They've never missed playoffs. They've at least gotten knocked out in the first round.
I did see that from someone saying, trying to compare this level of disappointment here from an elite level team in your region. And I think Team Liquid, it's unprecedented territory to fail this severely in one of these splits here. Because again, no matter what the expectations were for the TSM rosters, and they were incredibly high, and even their performances were incredibly high at various points, where they always managed to at least make it into the playoffs. And hey, we can make all the jokes about their performances in those playoff series, but they at least managed to get there.
And all the teams, you look at the teams battling for second in this three-way tiebreaker, Team Liquid should be better than any three of them should be. In their TSM, you can make that same argument. The tiebreakers get going today, Monday, at 3 p.m. Eastern time. So by the time this video's out, they might have already started. So I'm just going to preface this by saying whoever we say we think gets in, this is before the games have actually happened. So yeah, we're not prophetic here.
Exactly.
But the second place one, it's 3, 10, and 8 squads, FlyQuest, 100 Thieves, and EG. And everybody, it's FlyQuest and 100 Thieves advancing. They play first to face EG. I think that's what it is, right?
Yeah.
I'll check. So EG's waiting in the next round, FlyQuest versus 100 Thieves. So all three of these teams are already in the playoffs. Obviously, top two is kind of the nice seed that you want. I feel like I have the most faith in EG out of these three right now.
Yeah, especially with the way that they're playing right now, specifically really leaning on Jizuke to be the big
rise. Thank you.
Do not let the Italian Stallion get on that rise here. Absolutely a monster threat. He really has been a star player here for Evil Geniuses throughout this split. We've talked about many times with him being the real positive when they're getting these pop-off victories. He is a major part of it here. He is kind of that main driving factor, one of the focal points here. I think people have talked about in the past, Doublelift being on TSM, one of the big things about they always knew exactly what they had to do because Doublelift demanded and needed the resources or demanded that, hey, this is what we're going to do, that type of thing. Jizuke seems to be that type of player for me on Evil Geniuses, where he's the one that, hey, look, I'm going to be getting strong here and we're going to play through me and we're going to play through the way that I want us to play through this map. And I think that right now, putting your faith in Jizuke as Evil Genius, you got to be doing that.
Yeah, and in that Immortals game, it didn't matter what the overall gold or state of the map was. I was just hovered looking at the scoreline, CS, and items of Jizuke because nothing else mattered. When this Rise is 4-0, all of a sudden he's getting a death cap. It's like the rest of this game is irrelevant because he's going to one-shot your entire team. And he did.
Right, you're watching everything else happen, and you're thinking to yourself, okay, they're making this type of trade here. Rise gets this kill in the top side, and everything was invested into that. Nothing too much going the other way on the other side here. So NA is obviously a region here where if you're going to be making these proactive plays, not always the other team is either aware enough or courageous enough here to make a proactive play to try and trade something in response here. And for a squad that is as confident or as aggressive as Jizuke is with Evil Geniuses, that can certainly be a benefit.
And let's give a shout out to 100 Thieves because they turned it on the second half of the split to get to this point. Only Cloud9 had a better record than them in the second round robin. 7-2, huge bounce back from them to kind of ride the momentum into playoffs. Cody Sun looking great again someday. It's mainly just someday getting out.
Yeah.
Other people getting closer to his level. But as a team, they've played a lot better. And credit to Ryoma, who got a lot of criticism because he looked downright bad in a lot of their early games.
You know what? That was absolutely deserved criticism in the early part of this split. But you're right. 7-2 here in this back half of the split for 100 Thieves. The way that they turned it around really is a strong point here for this organization and the players in their development. Ryoma certainly has maybe not given you the pop-off performances that maybe we saw one or two in the early split amongst the bad performances as well. But it has certainly, as far as the average level of play that you're getting from him, a lot more solid, giving up less advantages to the other side here, and certainly giving up less advantages for the other members of 100 Thieves. That's what it's got to be all about, because I tell you what, some daddy in the top lane is creating enough advantages for himself and pressuring it on the other team here that whatever you do, you just got to stay out of his way and make sure he can carry.
I probably have the least confidence in FlyQuest because they're almost reverse of what 100 Thieves has done. They look great the first half. They've still looked fine. The second half, it hasn't been that big a drop-off, but they haven't been playing as well as 100 Thieves or Evil Geniuses the last, 2, maybe even 3 weeks of the regular season?
And look, as much as the talk about, top lane being kind of a relatively useless role in certain other things in solo queue, but if you look at FlyQuest and the way that they've gone through and the struggles that they've gone through in the last little bit, it absolutely is not having one of these pillars of strength towards that top side, having somebody, able to make these flanks in certain team fights, engage in certain ways. That just hasn't been there from Viper or from Solo here as he has stepped into the spot in the last couple of days. It certainly has been an issue here for FlyQuest in that last half of the split, that top side of the map. And again, I think Santorin, as much as I love him, and I think he's been great as a jungler for FlyQuest, I think he needs to step it up a little bit too to get things going more positively on that top section of the map.
Now, Solo still able to solo kill Impact in that top side. So, what does that say again? We're going to throw as much
shade. Is that really about
Solo,
or is that more about Impact?
We're throwing as much shade at Team Liquid as we can when that team misses playoffs. The 6th seed, the tiebreaker for that, it was just a magical run by 3 different teams that we got to this point. Golden Guardians had to go 2-0. Dignitas had to go 2-0, combined with Immortals going 0-2. And it would have been just so perfect if Team Liquid had been here as well. But we still get 3 squads. And I don't know about you, but I had no faith in Dignitas or the Guardians getting to this point.
I mean, I had a little bit with Golden Guardians, maybe more so than Dignitas, but that was more about the form that Dignitas was showing us. Yes, we liked the switch to Acadian in the jungle here, but I was losing steam on how Huni was playing in the mid lane, and even, mid lane and top lane, and Froggen in the mid lane. Even Froggen, someone we've talked about being a very strong player here, was struggling this split here. They really did find a way to turn it on this week. And moving towards playoffs, I do have some type of confidence here. Again, anytime you get into a playoff series against a player like Huni, like Froggen, you have to be considering those, incredibly unique champions that they're able to pull out and absolutely stomp on in certain situations. Those can be things that can creep into a, best of 5 type of series and really throw you a wrench into that. But the other thing when you're looking at Dignitas is, man, when you're thinking about all these other teams and their bot lanes, I don't know if Aframu and Johnson are really the ones that are giving me a lot of fright. They're holding on, they're holding steady, but it's certainly
not in the laning phase. You're not worried
straight.
about them.
Yeah.
In the laning, Johnson is a great team fighter, and I think he's more or less lived up to his hype.
4 out of the 6 playoff teams, I don't think would relatively be any bit fearful of the bottom section of the map here on that side.
No, there's pretty strong bot lanes in all the playoff squads. But the Guardians are the final boss for this tiebreaker because of, I believe it's the ridiculous fastest game time rule, which to me just is so stupid. There's no way you're saying Golden Guardians are the best of these 3 teams. It's pretty close, though, especially with Immortals going 0-2 when they had a chance to maybe be fighting for second. All of a sudden, they might be missing out on playoffs. And remember, Dig and Immortals, which is the first round, they just played earlier in the week, and it was, I'm going to say, horrible. It was a game, but this is approaching 60 minutes, and this was 2020 spring LCS in a nutshell. That game.
There's been a couple games this split, and I mean, sure, you can say that the same for previous years too, but man, there's really been a couple this time where I'm like, man, I wish I could give people back their time for watching this.
And how many of those had Immortals in them?
At least 75%, at least, if not higher.
Yeah, might have been all of them.
Hey, they picked up wins in some of them, so good for you. But man, I was not winning watching them. I'll tell you that much.
I don't know if anybody was, but I think any of these 3 teams are the weakest team in playoffs. Doesn't matter who wins.
Right. Yeah. I think if you're any of the teams matching up against these squads here in the next couple of weeks, I think you're feeling pretty positive about your chances.
But who knows? I didn't expect there would be a 3-way tiebreaker for 6, so maybe they shake some
I mean,
heads.
it's
show
NA.
up.
Anything can happen in the for fun region.
Anything can happen. This is why playoffs are scary. I just hope Cloud9 doesn't have a ridiculous upset
No,
and
no, no.
lose in semifinals or something.
That's not happening. Come on.
I
No,
don't want that.
don't put that on Cloud9. We're not getting that here. We're getting this has been too good of a performance here to flame out here in that first round.
Yeah, and they don't have to go through Team Liquid, so things are looking up for them. Over in Europe, the last day of regular season, I mean, everything was figured out on Friday. You knew all the seeding, basically, especially after Origin lost. So by the time G2 and Fnatic hit the Rift, it was full fiesta. But we still got to go through those games, and the real question is, who has the better comp here? Is it the G2 one or the Fnatic? And keep in mind, Fnatic's includes role swapping across the map, so you got to consider that.
Yeah, when you're going about actual composition, maybe G2, but as you're looking at how things went out here and having the players switching roles here and things like that, absolutely, it's got to be the for fun Fnatic squad. The way that they
But they lost. They did lose.
They did lose. But come on, at that point in time, when you're rolling with the composition and the swapping that's going on from Fnatic, and you're looking on the other side, and you're seeing a try-hard composition here,
Yeah, I got big beef with that vitality. You have one win on the split, and the second best team in Europe does this troll comp, and you say, great, guys. There's a lot of really strong picks that are available because they've been picking Shen and Jin, so let's just really pick this S-tier comp and get double up that win total so we're away from Coast. I don't like it.
Hey, look, you know what? It was fun to see Bwipo back in that bottom lane. It's been a while since we've seen Bwipo down in the bot side here, and especially to see him alongside Reckless in the bot side. That's a new combination here for Fnatic. I don't know if that's one we're going to want to continue moving forward.
I don't think we want Hylissang in the top lane.
No. I mean, yeah, it's better to contain the int in the support position than it is in the top lane.
See, Selfmade has actually played Evelyn, though. We've seen that in the LEC. That dude is insane on that champion. I hope he plays that in playoffs.
So much. I hate Evelyn. Ugh.
Yeah, I mean, he was just, 1v4s getting 2 kills and surviving with
no
the
problem.
LT. But G2, Wonder gets to knock off another support on the champ pool list in the top lane with the Brad. Brad in the top lane. Perks just played Zed. Yankos absolutely annihilated on the Shyvana. That wasn't as troll a draft when you compare it to Fnatic. So I'm giving the nod to Fnatic, especially because they had to go against a meta comp, which is disgraceful.
Right. G2's was certainly not a meta draft by any stretch here, but it absolutely wasn't a wacky for fun, let's throw everything out type of draft in that situation. These were some champions that we have seen these players play before, and they're fun to watch them
Aatrox
play.
bot is weird, and Bard top. Okay, Bard top's ridiculous. I'll give you that one.
Look, finding any game that is bardable right now, that is a pretty unique thing, but to roll it out on the LEC stage certainly gets a thumbs up from me.
Yeah, so not much to go for G2 or Fnatic heading into playoffs based on those games. They're still, I think, pretty clearly the top 2 teams with G2, a bit of separation. None of that changed in Week 9. Concerns are rising for Rogue, though, let me tell you. They had a chance to really, get some higher seeding heading into this LEC run, and they dropped the ball against 2 bottom feeders this week. They dropped both games against Schalke and SK and didn't look good at all in either of those games. All of a sudden, the synergy on this team looks questionable.
And the Schalke loss, I'm willing to let that one go here. You know what? We have seen, especially in the past couple of weeks,
they've been better. They're not a bottom feeder.
Since the LEC has moved towards this online formatting here, it has certainly been at least whatever. The Scrim gods. Yeah, the Scrim performance has certainly come through here from Schalke, and we have seen their level of play improve here. But when you're looking at the other one for Rogue here, dropping to SK, and in the fashion that they dropped to SK, that was an ugly performance all across the board.
That was almost just like you go in as the favorite. You're expected to win. You kind of lose focus. You don't do the little things. You're just, let's dive them bot. Sure. 4v3, that's fine. Oh, wow, they killed us all. Shocking. Is this still a pro team we're playing against?
Yeah, this is not the way that Rogue wanted to head in towards playoffs here, especially, again, the playoffs for the LEC and how competitive we expect it to be all the way throughout all of these positions here, because every squad here rolling through, has the capability of knocking off the very top here. Yes, you could say that for everywhere, but certainly with the level of play that we've seen in the LEC and the parity at times here in the pop-offs, it absolutely is possible for one of these lower seeded teams to get ahead.
It's a pretty stacked field in the LEC. If Rogue plays like they did in Week 9 against even Misfits or Mad Lions, they're going to get smashed. They're going to get 3-0'd. That's it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It easily would get bounced by that type of squad if they're putting that performance back on stage.
And Mad Lions are a team that should have a lot of confidence heading into playoffs, picking up a win against Origin in the final week, and now they have a win against every single of the other playoff squads. Not many teams have a win against Fnatic and G2 heading into the playoffs. Mad Lions should be saying, listen, we've already beaten everybody ahead of us. We should have full confidence. Obviously, it's still 4 rookies, and they're going to be in a best-of scenario against all these veterans. A lot still to prove, but if I'm Carzy and the boys, I'm feeling good.
Yeah, you got to be feeling good. Given, you said that you have these victories over all the other playoff teams. You just got to look at yourself and say, look, we've done this before. It doesn't matter who we're going up against here. We have it in us, and we have the talent to get past them and be better. So you got to have that faith in yourself here. And look, you've mentioned it, the lack of experience here as far as playoffs goes for this squad here. Right now, this team needs to lean on Humanoid and the experience that he did gain last year at Worlds. We've talked about this a lot of times. You're going up against some of the star players and what you get when you do go to Worlds, and that extra level of play and pressure that you do become, exposed to, and you're able to adapt and adjust to then later on. These are big things here for the rest of the squad. And yes, this is adapting into an online playoffs type of atmosphere where maybe you're not getting the huge type of live crowd that you would get at some of these, final venues and things like that to deal with. But certainly the type of pressures that you might feel knowing that this game is more valuable, let alone to yourself, but to the fan base as well. That can certainly be something that someone who has gone through a Worlds like Humanoid here, that little bit, I want to stress that little, because Humanoid's not much of a veteran here himself, but that little bit of veterancy for him can certainly help the rest of the rookies on the squad.
Hey, the last time Humanoid played a best of, it was against SKT and Faker. So what's it going to be at LEC? It'll be fine. It'll be easier than that. So, he's been in the hyperbolic time chamber going up against them. We got to give, because it's the last time we'll be seeing them, shout outs to the bottom 3 in the LEC. and we're not talking about Schalke. They're in their own category. We've already talked about that. But they all got a win in the final week. Yes, Vitality, it's a dirty win because they played it against that Troll Fnatic comp. But SK got a legit win against Rogue. Schalke got a legit win against Rogue again. And they were actually somewhat competitive in their first matches as well. Vitality even showed up a bit against Misfits. So right at the end of the season, SK and Vitality showing, you know what? We are an LEC caliber team.
You know what? To be fair, I've liked might be a bit too strong of a word, but I've been fairly positive with what I have seen from Vitality since they've added Selfie into the mid lane here. I think that has certainly been a much better fit than what's been going on. And yes,
he deserves to win that Misfits game. 8-1 on the Victor. Come on.
That's where I want to be careful, because again, I hated picking the meta champions against Fnatic and tryharding there, but man, you had to feel for him in the Misfits loss, because that certainly was him putting on such a strong performance and not getting it done with the rest of Vitality here. But look, yeah, you're bringing up a good point here with the bottom of the LEC, and yes, this is the online play and things like that. We have seen a bit of a resurgence towards the end of the split here, and whether you want to call that other teams laxing at the top or the bottom teams figuring out, I'd rather it be the bottom teams starting to figure some things out here and maybe getting a bit of positive momentum towards this offseason and summer split.
Yeah, and really, Vitality, hopefully Belitza's, I feel bad for that guy, man. He must have been so excited to play the spring split, his debut in the LEC. I hope he's still on this roster and actually gets to play some games when the summer split rolls around, because he's a guy who could potentially be a top 5 mid laner in Europe.
That's a guy who's got a really kind of unfortunate hand that was dealt to him as far as this spring split has gone and how things have worked out with visas and whatnot. It's really been unfortunate, because this is certainly a player that, what we've seen the highlights here before him, I was certainly hyped to see him get a chance at this level of play, keep improving, keep progressing and growing. That could have been another great story to watch here. We didn't get to see it, and I'm really hopeful that this is not the end here for a lot of people of learning about Malizia.
And I hope Steelback starts every game over Jack Pearl next split. That absolutely needs to happen.
The performance would indicate yes.
Sometimes that's not what teams are looking at. I don't know what they're looking at. China and Korea, there's 3 best of 3s every single day. So if you're not watching the LPL at LCK, it is getting insane. T1 versus Hanwha Life was on the Sunday, and T1, cuz he's back. He returned.
Hey, he's a secret weapon.
He's a secret weapon. Comes in for game 3. T1 has struggled against Hanwha, by the way. The past 2 years, they always drop at least a set.
It's not the T1 squad. It's whatever's Hanwha's doing to them. They're getting into their heads, and they are playing them tough in those series.
It wasn't Olaf Yumi this time, but LM, who's another rookie trainee from T1, has been starting the last couple of series. He's looked incredible alongside Kana, and all of a sudden, Cuz, who had some great games early on in the split, you're like, boy, you might be starting LM more than him going forward.
Which is crazy because, again, Cuz has had strong performances. This is nothing on Cuz. This has strictly been from probably the time that they've had that little bit brief amount of time off between round 1 and round 2 here of the LCK Spring Split. I think maybe throughout the scrim sessions and the practices there, Elam might have really kind of cemented himself as a player that was on the rise and one that the T1 squad wanted to see and how they would get through. The initial thoughts here from putting him into the games was simply to give, hey, the way the scheduling is going to work here with the LCK rushing some games in, 3 best of 3s every day, is getting him in the next day when they were going to face off against DRX here, getting Cuz into that game. Elam played those ones as well here, and so he certainly has been showing us, and this is a new T1. We're not used to them kind of giving us these young prodigies so early. It's been a lot of time of grooming them and, behind the scenes work in the Challenger Series. This has been absolutely something different and new, and it is new blood here for T1 that is bringing the excitement and plays, but don't forget, our boy Fakers, of course, delivering the star performances that you need. And Teddy's Teddy, man. What else do you want from my boy?
Teddy, far and away, it's probably between him and Aiming, to be honest, who's been the best performing LCK AD carry.
Oh my God, Aiming has been crazy too.
Yeah, and for T1, I mean, this is the youngest roster Faker has played with in probably since Bang and Marin and Wolf all came up from the sister team, which is 5 years ago now. So it's really exciting to see these young players performing well on a top team in the LCK. And talking top teams, well, KT Roaster's one of them. 7 games in a row. This team started 0-5, and we thought they would be worse than APK Prince, worse than Jin Air last year. And then all of a sudden, they win 7 series in a row. Aiming is absolutely incredible. And if it wasn't for MVP points, I'd be talking about Aiming as a front runner for MVP right now.
My problem here is I want to eliminate week 1 of the LCK because week 1 you had KT having strong game 1 performances, but then ended up losing their series there. Because if you eliminate that week and you showed the week 2, week 3, week 4 performances of KT, and then you tell them that, hey, this is a squad that's going to be on a 7-game win streak here, you would not believe that that's even possible. No. Given the performances that we saw from some of these guys and the trajectory that this team looked like they were going on with the rest of the LCK, they have certainly turned things around. Things have become very stable in the majority of the map here for KT, but specifically down in that bot side, it is a fiesta, and it is a fiesta of fun for Aiming because he's dishing out damage, picking up kills, and absolutely hard carrying the rest of this KT team to protect him and get them through the finish line here and keep that win streak going.
These guys are drafting 4 melee tanks and an Ezreal as their only source of damage, and then this guy's building Duskblade on the Ezreal and styling on people. That's insane.
Man, it has been, again, and be careful here because I'm not going to get excited about this. I'm not going to be the guy to get excited about KT.
I'm still disappointed with them.
Yeah, exactly. I am so even keeled about KT right now. But I'm telling you, if there's a player to be excited about for KT, you can be excited about players on KT, just not the organization itself. Be excited about Aiming, the way that he is playing. Even if you're not a KT fan, watching the way that Aiming has played should give you some excitement as far as seeing an ADC really able to take over like that.
Yeah, especially when Ezreal, one of the, usually it's a resident sleeper pick. People love the spam in Twitch chat. It's not when Aiming's playing because that guy is eating forward 9 times out of 10. You think a 7-game win streak's impressive. Well, the defending world champions have won 8 in a row. And much like KT, who started 0-5, FPX, well, they only started 0-2. And people were already saying the world is burning. It's all over. FPX joke. It was a fluke that they even won.
Well,
now
what a
they've won.
mid laner doing B.
Yeah, no mechanics. He was the worst mid laner at Worlds. Now they've won 8 series in a row, 7 of them with Gimgoon. Khan finally returned to the lineup to absolutely put a beat down onto the 17th best team in the LPL, Victory 5. Played the Fiora, and listen, if they can implement Khan into this lineup and still play at their regular level, this team is going to be even more terrifying than last year.
It's extremely scary when you think about the success that FPX is having with Gimgoon in the lineup and how everything looks kind of like, oh man, this looks like 2019 FPX. They're rolling through, stomping through people, and then you throw that wrench in here, of course, of getting Khan into the lineup this week and the performances and carry level that he's able to bring to this team. It's just a totally different aspect to the FPX squad and success they're able to have. And what impressed me the most here, again, is the way that the rest of FPX was able to play with Khan in the lineup, the way they were able to adjust, play around that, and help support it as well here, and still get this dominating performance here. Absolutely loved what I saw from FPX.
And I hated that when they went 0-2, it was all with Khan and people, and then they started winning with Gimgoon. So immediately the easy storyline is, oh, see, Khan ruined this team. He's trash. Gimgoon's better. I don't think there's any question. You'd be insane to say head-to-head as top laners, Gimgoon is not better than Khan. Just, that's a fact. It's not even close.
Come on, man.
It's not even close. Sure.
On individual performance, and sure, if you're going to be going about, maybe a different style, I can entertain that conversation about what you want from your top laner to be doing, to maybe saying I'd rather have Gimgoon in that top side. But that is an extremely different situation than just talking about here the performances here, because absolutely the level of mechanical play and I think the level of confidence in himself to pull off some of these plays, which is again a very equally important part. Is Khan going to be able to get that done? And the answer here right away in this week has been yes.
And sure, you can say Tien and the rest of the team, they don't give many resources to Gimgoon. So we'll give him that. He gets abandoned on top lane island a lot, and then he's left to go 0-7-0 on an Aatrox. But Khan, he proved on T1 he can play that weak side to pretty darn good levels as well. So I expect Khan to be getting more starts eventually as they slowly put him in. First test was, again, the very worst team, the only winless team in the LPL. We'll see him against some of the other better teams in China.
Yeah, we're going to get some more performances from him, but you're right in bringing up the weak side performance from Khan. That was when a lot of people would criticize here, especially when he was going to go to T1 about the resources and what was going to happen there.
Sure.
He really did show that he does have that ability to play better than people thought on the weak side of the map with less of those resources here, and that certainly is going to be something that is beneficial towards the FPX side.
One of the other big roster changes that we're waiting for is Uzi to come back to RNG, and one of the greatest rivalries and oldest rivalries in the LPL, RNG versus EDG. It doesn't even matter who the players are at this point. It's just those two organizations. When they meet on the Rift, it's always insane, and their series this weekend, game 1 and 2 were not anything particularly memorable, but that third game, what is it with EDG and almost 10k gold leads, and just it's almost a guaranteed loss? I don't understand.
It's the trap card, baby. It's the 10k gold lead trap card.
Them and TSM both.
That pot of greed, man. It's too much gold for them. It's too much greed. You gotta keep it to a 9k gold advantage. That's the secret here.
And
but
really,
in all seriousness, you're right. This RNG EDG match, the first 2 games, you know what? If you're a fan of it, I'd recommend go seeing it. But if you're not, if you're just a fan of League of Legends, go watch Game 3. Go Game 3. You can skip the first 2, and it's no problem, because I promise you, this Game 3, the way it's going on, the fights that happening here, you're going to be at the edge of your seat watching this one. This one was hype. RNG and EDG. Man, you see those 6 letters? You sign me up. I am watching that matchup.
And Hope has been pretty incredible for EDG so far. I think he was 9-0-8 at one point on the Varus. Imagine losing a game, by the way, where you have that score game, that score in the game. But really, it showed that Kassadin is absolutely disgusting, deserves to be permabanned.
Busted.
And the main play in the game is EDG tries to TP to end the game. They send 2 members in to kill the base. Xiaohu, credit to him, his reaction to immediately TP the minute he sees someone at EDG do it, he follows up immediately, of course pulls out a 1v2 because it's a late game Kassadin, and then RNG closes out the game. Kassadin is insane, is what you really learned from Game 3.
Yeah, no more late game Cassidans. I don't like to see that one. I don't care if I'm cheering for the team that has the late game Cassidon. That's just not fun for anybody really in that situation. But when you do talk about when are we going to get Uzi back, I'm pretty sure, again, various things and the validity of them. I'm pretty sure he is back in Shanghai now, and he is undergoing the mandatory quarantine after traveling type of situation here going on with coronavirus. So he hopefully is sometime soon performing with the RNG squad. But if you're RNG, again, it's crazy to say because of how talented and how big of a player and figure Uzi is for your franchise. I don't know if you're necessarily super worried about getting Uzi back into this starting lineup anytime soon because Betty has been phenomenal in stepping up in that performance.
Any issues RNG has had this split has not been the fault of Betty whatsoever. And even in this game on that famine Senna, you saw the late game. The later it goes, the more disgusting that champion gets. And it gets quite disgusting.
Very disgusting.
And you saw that. So Betty... You feel bad for him if he gets his spot taken out. Let's see Uzi roll swap. Play mid. Get Xiaohu out. Uzi 80 carries mid only.
Uzi versus Perks. That's what it's all about, baby.
Yeah, you can't escape him, Perks. He'll follow you. He'll find you. The top of the LPL is absolutely insane. We're going to do global power rankings later this week. I feel like you could have 3 LPL teams top 3 because we talked about FPX being dominant. IG, for the most part, has been dominant, except for that one game where... a little up-and-coming team completely obliterated them. Estar, 9-1, another 2-0 over the weekend. This group of rookies is the team to watch in the LPL, and if you haven't been watching them, what are you doing? Watch their games. They're insane.
Look, I don't know what religion people are, but whatever your deity god that you are praying to, pray to them that their contract situation for Estar is not the same as Griffin, because I don't want to have another one of these young start organizations with a complete rookie lineup here come through and then get sabotaged here with the contracts running through here. Estar's players, the performances, the attitude that they've had here, man, if you are not watching the LPL yet, and again, we've done these type of things here, trying to get people to watch the LPL last year, talking about the success that FPX has and how exciting their games were. It's a similar story here with Estar. Definitely need to be watching their games. I really tell you guys, they are phenomenal and incredibly fun to watch.
Yeah, and they've already beaten FPX and IG. And I talked about it when we did the highlights of them against IG. I have never seen an IG version of the Shy and Rookie get as hard smashed as they did against Estar.
Yeah, and the confidence that these players are playing with, the decisions that they are making here, this is what you want to be seeing from a team. This is a team that, again, has picked up 1 or 2 victories and really started to believe in themselves, believe in their own level of skill here and how they're going to dictate things on the map. It has truly been almost a masterpiece here to watch Estar move through here. And again, considering how inexperienced these guys are at this level of play, it really makes this story fun.
Yeah, and daily reminder that Cryan was on RNG. Wink was on RNG. Now, he was never going to start over Uzi, but he learned from the very best, and Wei, another jungler from Young Miracles. We just got to keep pushing the storyline of where these guys came from because they're the favorites heading into playoffs. I know we still have like 4 weeks left, but...
4 weeks in like a billion games.
Yeah. You know, you got 21 best ofs a week. It gets pretty insane in the LPL. And we'll be going through all those highlights when they roll around. We're going to be doing power rankings later. So far, so good on this remote broadcast, I would say. We'll be slowly adding more into it to make it more exciting. But at least for now, our cameras didn't give away. So that's a win.
We got something working on here, and hopefully we can get you guys some more content here for League Unlocked coming through from us, and everybody staying home, staying safe here. Play some video games, guys. It's a good time.
It's the perfect time to play video games. Now it's encouraged for you to sit at home or sit in your basement and play games for 8 hours.
Be a hero and play some video games. Stay home, order some food, do your part.
And Wednesday, Gen G versus T1. Match of the entire week, maybe across the globe as they hit the Rift. We'll be here. Hopefully Mark will be here as well to break down that game. And we'll go deep into that one because it's going to be a spicy one. But
we're going to the ship for that one.
We go into the ship. I'm going to put that as if we have an intro video or something, we're going to put that just on full. That and the TFT Penguin video.
Yeah, TFT Mobile Dudadunga is going to roll at the end of this one for sure.
Yeah, that's just the best way to do it. But that's it today for League Unlocked. Thank you guys for hanging out with us, and we will catch you. Look at that. A remote wave from Mark. And you know where we will catch you guys. It will be on the Flippity Flop. See you later.
TFT 모바일 도동동작 또로로로 갤럭시 푸동동작 TFT 모바일 도동동작 또로로로 갤럭시 푸동동작 또 떨어져 허구와 날라다타 여긴 갤럭시 너의 자식 얼럭키다 너의